Hello, Juliana.
Hello, Mr. Gabriel. It's so good to see you.
Good afternoon. Were you sleeping? You look a little...
No, I didn't do my makeup today. That's the difference.
It's not a big difference anyway. I think you just look better with this, but that's all.
Thank you.
It's good to see you. Hi, Hussein.
Thank you. Hello, Hussein. He's talking to you. Thank you so much, Gabriel.
All right. Sorry.
And I also like your haircuts, by the way.
Okay. There's a long story behind it. It's a very long story. Thank you all the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't reply your mails or your messages. It's I spend a lot more time on traveling now than I stay, sit at home. I work in a different city and I live in a different city, and I just imagine maybe doing your PhD in Abuja, living in Lagos, and your family's in Umuahia. So, and I have to, in a week, I have to be in all these three places.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's
Okay. Wow.
it's quite a lot, and then it comes with the having to keep up with all the activities of three at the same time. So most times I check my emails, it shows up on my watch, and after that I probably forget. I had to get an assistant to help me with some things. It's that complicated, but it's okay always. I'm fine.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, Hussein, good afternoon.
Yes.
My name is Hussein Mahadi. I will be moderating today the third week of AI session. And our topic for today is bias in AI and machine learning and its implications. So let me quickly tell us a little bit about the program. This program seeks to encourage continuous training, development, evolution in Africa and around the world. You can watch our videos by searching for JIIPCC on YouTube, Facebook, #JIIPCCMIP. Then quickly, our objectives are to provide easy access to quality professional guidance, training and resource materials for students, young professionals, enthusiasts in Africa, to facilitate dialogue and network among experienced and less experienced practitioners and stakeholders, to transform mentees into mentors and leaders for the next generation. That's a very big objective, and we hope to achieve that. To facilitate further mentorship, internship, scholarship, and job placement for the mentees. This is what we are all about. So let me quickly share us the announcements for today. Okay, the registration for the next quarter is currently ongoing. That's the fourth quarter. You can register for any other course you are interested in. You can help us share with your friends and course mates. That's for the mentees. The private mentorship program is currently ongoing. In case you know any mentors, any mentor that you like and you want to maybe learn further from him, have a 30-minute session with him, you can register with the link bit.ly/JIIPCCPM. That's that. And finally, we'll be having a JIIPCC final year party by 10th of December in Abuja. So all the mentees and mentors in Abuja, please, you can join us. We've shared the registration link on your groups, so you can just sign up and you join us. So we're moving to the next thing. Please, everybody that is here with us, we encourage you to put up your video as we are live streaming. You can see that we are live streaming, and edit your name section if you've not done that. Thank you very much. So back to our topic, bias in AI and machine learning. We all know that bias is inclination and prejudice for or against a person. So today's topic is for AI, and I think it's against AI. That's why we are talking about the implications. So we are moving to group one now. Group one, please, if you are ready, put up your presentation and unmute yourself. Group one presenter. Please present it for group one, please.
Okay, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon to our mentors and fellow mentees. My name is Solomon Ate, and I'm going to be presenting for group one. So I will be sharing my screen now. So I believe everybody can see my screen now.
Yes.
All right, so the presentation is on bias in artificial intelligence and machine learning and the implications, with, of course, with selected examples. To start with, for the order to achieve what this presentation is all about, so we'll run through all these contents, the introduction, definition of some terms, concepts of bias in artificial intelligence. We'll look at selected examples, implications, of course, and solutions to recommendations. We'll draw a conclusion from that end. So, in introduction, we know that artificial intelligence has been one of the greatest innovation in human history over time. And from last week's presentation, we saw how important artificial intelligence can address the many issues, even on the African continents, ranging from socio-economic and security challenges, solving the problems of food insecurity, and the rest of them. So AI is actually great, but it becomes very difficult for it to achieve the purpose for which it is created if there are certain constraints within the workability of the system. And that is what bias in artificial intelligence is all about. So the presentation is basically going to explore the concept of bias in artificial intelligence, looking at relevant examples and seeing the implications of these biases. And of course, it will try to profile some useful recommendations in order to survive some of those, to survive the challenges occasioned by these. So we'll actually be looking at this within the partial interest on the African continent. Now, some definitions of terms. Of course, we're going to see why in the presentation you're going to come across terms like algorithms. Now, algorithms basically means those series of instructions, series of commands, or series of things that needs to be put together for a particular task to be done. So virtually what we do every day as individuals is followed by algorithms. For example, if you want to brush your teeth, you need to get the toothpaste and put on the brush and all of this. Really explains and defines what algorithms is. In artificial intelligence, the algorithms are actually automated instructions that are used. Now, another concept another term that we may find in the presentation is what we call machine learning. And it is actually what is used by the tech businesses or organizations to teach artificial intelligence products in carrying out the functions for which they are created. And a set of algorithms so basically machine learning is a set of algorithms that are fed with structures data to complete a particular task. So moving forward, the concept of bias in artificial intelligence. Now, it may be quick for us, for many people or for all of us to conclude that since machines are working independently from humans, they may not be able to inherit these, some of the negative attitudes of man's like biases. But the truth is these machines are taught to behave or taught to act to carry out those functions by humans. So they are actually built with data collected by man, and so there are tendencies that they definitely will inherit some of the man's behaviors. So we'll first of all look at what bias is. So just like Sir Hussein said before, bias are just inclinations or prejudice for or against one person or group, especially in a way that is considered unfair. So what then could be bias in artificial intelligence? Now, this simply means those underlying prejudices in data that is used to create artificial intelligence algorithms. And when these prejudices are used in creating these algorithms, it tends to discriminate against certain sections and certain regions in the society, and it actually produce some from the what we're seeing as bias in the definition of the concept. And imagine if an artificial intelligence is designed to decide the admission of an applicant into the university. And one of the inputs is the geographical location. You actually know what will be the fate of the person if his location is highly affected with the issues of ethnicity. So that is what this bias in artificial intelligence would actually cause. So just like I said before, it does not come in vacuum. It's so because the machines are built out of algorithms that are devised by people who have these biases. So they tend to act like those who create them. And just like from the past presentations, we noted that data is very key, sensitive to producing or advancement of artificial intelligence. So the data that is used are actually from the human history, are actually parts of what of man's record. And so they are what are used to teach these machines how to work. So based on these, the machine tends to inherit these biases, tends to inherit this from the human persons that create them. Now, moving forward, we'll look at the types of bias in artificial intelligence. There are basically two types of bias in artificial intelligence. We have the algorithmic AI bias, or what we call data bias. So these ones are basically where the algorithms are trained to be biased using biased data. Why societal bias are the assumptions and the prejudices that we carry in our society tend to form part of the conclusions we made from AI making. And it is believed that societal bias has largely infected or influenced the algorithm biases. Now, moving forward, we'll now look at what are those selected examples of this bias in artificial intelligence. Now, one, from a research that was conducted around 2019, it's discovered that an AI's healthcare service used in the United States in diagnosis and providing medical care for people found out that it was biased against that out of the 200 million people that were, these machines was applied to, tends to favor the white people more than the black people. So this is what bias in artificial intelligence will tends to bring. And if you also look at, for example, some of the assistants we use on our phones, like Google Assistants, we discover that they are not really conversant, or they are not really configured in the way that they understand the our local languages. For example, Siri may not be able to pronounce some of our names in our local languages. So these are the selected examples of bias in artificial intelligence that we can look at then. So what are the implications of this bias in artificial intelligence? Of course, we know that when there are bias in artificial intelligence, it may not produce the desired results at the end of the day. So one of the implications is the preference of a section over others. So when you use artificial intelligence that has biased data, or artificial intelligence is built with the biased data, it tends to favor that one section against the other. For example, for what the case of the medical healthcare that in the US that was built to favor the white people. So we see that the white people are preferred more than the black people. So this is one of the implications of when we use biased data in producing or in creating algorithms for artificial intelligence. Now, there's also, it wants to bring out injustice in the system. So if a machine is used, if an AI invention is to track, let's say, crime rates among races, if it is built with biased data that tends to believe that the black people commit more crime more than the white people, and then it's actually producing judgment. At the end of the day, it's only the black people that will be convicted of crimes, and that will be injustice. And then there's lack of transparency and accountability. So bias in AI systems will definitely be bad reference point for an accountable and transparent project. The lack of transparency is mainly because of the end result. Is the direct reflections of the metrics of what is fed in the system. Of course, it will produce an ineffective result at the end of the day. So having looked at the implications that the bias in artificial intelligence have caused or are bound to cause, what then are the solutions? What can be recommended for improvement in the system? So I don't know if you're still hearing me.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. So we'll now look at the solutions and the recommendations to solving the problem. It's actually a very difficult task in fixing artificial intelligence biases because of the interconnectedness between the makers of the products and the operation. To go back again to what we have agreed on, that artificial intelligence mainly rely on the data that is being given to them to grow products. So definitely these data are from human history. These data are produced by those who make them. So there is that connectedness between the makers and of course the machines that produce. There's actually a saying that the machines are taught to behave like those who made them. So, but there are, however, some solutions or way forward. And one of it is regulating a more ethical artificial intelligence. So we know regulations have a very long way to have a very powerful, it's a very powerful tool in regulating and in ensuring that the right things are done in the system. So we can, the African continent, for example, can borrow from the European Commission that have a set of significant rules that guides, that tends to code some ethical, that have ethical codes that tends to guide those who produce artificial intelligence, who have artificial intelligence products. So the law provides that it has that it will guarantee the safety and fundamental rights of people and businesses while strengthening AI uptake, investment, and innovation across Europe. So just like I said, Africa can develop the same legal approach to ensure that artificial systems in Africa are complying with uniqueness of Africa in terms of the demands of Africa, in terms of culture and other similar unique sensibilities that are peculiar to African continent. Another way forward is companies and organizational engagement. So since artificial intelligence products are mostly used in organizations, it's going to be a very turning point for providing solutions if organization tends to adopt and implement inventions that capture various sensibilities of all groups that work within that sectors. We cannot underestimate the role of rights and advocates group, those who advocate for digital rights and all of this their advocacy, their commitments to the cause of inclusion that will actually push for even the laws to be made and policies within the African, within the bias-free, to provide for bias-free artificial intelligence. Now, the developers also have roles to play. Just like we said, it has been pointed out before, these systems needs data to be created. And so the developers would have to clean up the data they collect to ensure that every person, every group, every region is actually captured in the product. And then AI models should also be designed with all sense of fairness. And so it's just like what we say the rights group should also advocate for. So there should be fairness. Those who are producing should be guided by the principle of fairness in producing the data, in producing the machines. Now, there's also a need for diversification of bigger units where AI is applied. So when there are smaller units within the systems, it could actually focus to find out those areas of biases and identify them within shortest times, and it will be addressed. Also adopting AI bias reduction tools. For example, AI Fairness 360 that is deployed by IBM, which is an open source library to detect and mitigate biases in unsupervised learning algorithms. The tool actually enables programmers to text biases in models and data sets with comprehensive set of metrics. So they allow the developers to test their data to ensure that they meet up to standard before it's actually pushed out there. And then it is also recommended that algorithmic audits be carried out. So researchers have argued that one of the ways to reduce biases in AI is to go for algorithmic audits. So this will actually create mechanisms to check that the engineering process involved in AI creations and deployments meet declared ethical expectations and standards, which such as organizational AI principles, or even within the different localities. Because it is found out that sometimes, or mostly, the products, these AI products are not homegrown within the places of applications. And since data is needed in producing them, the data that is used are actually data within the areas of inventions. And so they may not really take into consideration the sensitivities available in this particular location. But if audits like this are carried out, it will actually help in driving home the issues of introducing or incorporating these sensibilities peculiar to the areas of applications where this AI works. Now, conclusion, just like it is mentioned at the beginning, artificial intelligence is great. It has come to better the life and existence of humanity, and it has, see, as it is evolving, the goal is to ensure that things are improved, conditions of life are actually improved. And so there is need to begin to look at issues like this bias even at the earlier stage of its growth, so that we can actually fight against these biases by being attuned to biases of the world we are actually clinged to. And to end with the comments from the head of Ericsson's Global AI Accelerator, who said one of the things that fascinates him mostly is that AI technology is inspired by human nature. And it means that whatever humans found to be sensitive and successful in their lives and evolutionary processes can be used when creating new algorithms. Diversity, inclusion, balance, flexibility are very important in this regard with respect to data and knowledge. And diverse organizations are for sure better equipped for creating responsible algorithms. So in the area of big data, let's make sure we don't discriminate small data. So those who are producing should not discriminate other sectors who are less within the funding. So that's his presentation. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Solomon Atta, for that beautiful presentation. I think you said almost everything. You talked about the examples of bias in AI, the implications, and you gave us some solutions, some beautiful solutions and recommendations. Thank you very much. So we'll move to the next presenter for group 2. Please come in now, or mute yourself and share your screen for the presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, can you see the slide too?
Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Oloyede Elizabeth. I am the presenter for Group 2, and I'll be talking on safeguarding human rights in the age of AI. So we'll be running through this table of content. We're talking about the introduction, the impact of AI on human rights, challenges of AI on human rights, solutions to the challenges, and conclusion. Okay, so I'll be starting with human rights. Yes, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of their race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, or any other status. And human rights, according to the Constitution, they include the right to life and liberty, right to private life, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of expression and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. However, the use of AI and its technologies has affected life in a wide range of areas, including the healthcare sectors, our education systems, the law enforcement, works and social responsibility. However, all these things need consideration because AI has had the potential to violate human rights and undermines the law that protects them. For example, Section 37 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has amended, provided that the privacy of citizens, their homes, correspondence, telephone conversation, and telegraphic communication is hereby guaranteed and protected. But can you hear me?
Can I hear you?
Now, moving to the impact of AI on human rights. AI promises to protect the rights of man better than a human being can do. Yes, the benefit of AI in terms of response to threat is that it can act independently, taking responsive measures without the need for human oversight and at a much greater speed than a human can do. Yes, when, for example, I'll still come back to that. By being conscious of the risks to human rights, you can use AI to better your business, promote growth, promote your business, promote growth, and improve customers' interaction. Yes, most firms now, they use this AI to manage sources of materials and production from supplies. Yes. Yeah, AI, and this AI also helps in business. It helps them, those in businesses, yeah, to minimize time in the pricing trials and errors of product development. Yeah, with that, it also helps in the healthcare sector, like I mentioned earlier, to see many like including the billings and processing necessary paperwork. It can protect our rights to health by identifying trends and opportunities in a data-driven economy. Yes, in our healthcare, it helps us to see many possible uses for AI. Like, for example, in diagnosing, analysis of data, images, and so on. It can ensure an individual access to effective remedies for human rights harms resulting from business practices. There are examples of AI on human rights. AI technology is used in the legal system through facial recognition and video surveillance to identify offenders. As you know, in our legal systems, mostly in these modern days, where whenever probably in a criminal litigation or even in a civil litigations, through this help of AI, they have been able to, like, it has helped us in many areas because there are some, for example, like the CCTV cameras, they use it like to identify offenders who do not know they've been captured through the use of the CCTV camera. And yeah, DNA analysis and thumbprint scanners are also widespread in the legal system. For example, where there's a murder case, probably through the use of knife or any other stuff like that. So the there's this machine that is used to confirm the thumbprinting of the thumbprint of a human being, and this has helped us so much in the legal system where we can identify offenders with or without their knowledge. Now, challenges of AI on human rights. It can limit our freedom, our right to freedom of expression. Yeah, one of the rights at stake is the freedom of expression. Yeah, a recent Council of Europe publication in Algorithm and Human Rights noted, for instance, that Facebook and YouTube have adopted a filtering mechanism to detect violent extremist content. However, yes, there's no information that is available about the process or criteria these people have adopted, or should I say, they have used to explain which video shows clearly in legal content. When you post, for example, when you post something on probably on any social media, so all this, they have this thing they use in filtering these messages. If it is illegal, they just probably delete it from the page, from the app or from the media. So these are the challenges, and this is against the right to freedom of expression and press, according to the Section 39 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Job replacement. Yeah, it's no longer a matter of if AI can replace certain jobs, but to what degree. Most of this work done by human have been replaced by human rights. Have been replaced by AI. Sorry. Now, the right to work and protection against unemployment is guaranteed under Article 23 of the UDHR, that's the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And through the rapid increase of artificial intelligence, it has transformed existing business and personal lives by improving the efficiency of machinery and service. Such change has also birthed an area of unemployment due to displacement of human labor. And all of this is against the right to work and protection against unemployment, which is guaranteed under Article 23 of UDHR. And according to 2019 Brookings Institution study, 36 million people work in jobs with high exposure to automation, meaning that before long, at least 70% of their tasks, ranging from retail sales and market analysis to hospitality and warehouse labor, will be done using AI. Lack of privacy too. Yeah, the tension between AIs and between advantages of AI technology and the risks for our human rights become most evidence in the area of privacy. Yeah, as we all know that privacy is a fundamental human right. essential in order to live in dignity and security. But in this digital environment, where like most of the tasks are being carried out using machineries, using machines, yeah. So even including the apps we use on social media, like I mentioned earlier, some of these social media's managers, or should I say most of these people that create these apps, they've put like some measures to prevent people from expressing themselves. For instance, you can't post anything on the social media once it is found illegal by them. Even if it is legal to you, like it's something that is right, as far as it is not legal to them, or they found it illegal, or anything that is contradicting their, should I say, contradicting their rules and regulation, they just filter it out. And this is against the one of the human rights in the Constitution. And again, some of these data that are collected, like probably you want to register for something, probably you want to enter an app, they will ask for your age, for your name, they will ask for your emails. These information are collected from us and can be used, and these things are things that can be used against us, because it's more or less like a private life of a person that is being disclosed to them. And all these things can affect, they can affect human beings, because when somebody else finds it out, probably they were able to get it through one means or the other. Because we have those people that call themselves hackers, where they like one way or the other, they're able to get this information. Now, there is nothing like privacy again. That means we all lack privacy too. We all like privacy. Now, the use of some artificial intelligence may be used to discriminate against persons of certain races and ethnicity. Like the first speaker mentioned, like the first presenter mentioned, that like some of these things, they preferred the white people than the Black people. Yes, this because this artificial intelligence, they too, they have their biases, because it's somebody that has created them, it's somebody that's how they are going to work, somebody that has processed it into them. So therefore, anything that the person, like the biases in that person, there's more tendency that they are being transferred into what they create. Can somebody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay. Theft of sensitive materials. Theft of sensitive materials. Intellectual property right of people can be stolen by AI, yes. Like all these patents, or I say patents, or like AI can steal some work of people, yes. AI can steal your work by moving probably your watermark. Yes, when you post something on probably on a social media platform or an article, yes. Artificial intelligence, all these machines, they have the ability to remove probably anything that stands as a mark, or that stands as something that is used to identify that this thing belongs to somebody. Probably the watermark, they can remove it and replace it with another thing. And this is one of the challenges of AI on human rights. What are the solutions to these challenges? Companies and government that are after the privacy of their customers should put additional safeguards in place. Intellectual property is safer with AI than without AI. Now, companies that values the privacy of their customers, that values they should be able to put in place measures to prevent these machines, or to prevent these people who create the machines from intruding into their customers' privacy. And in conclusion, AI can be useful, but should not be solely dependent on. AI can create inequality if it is left unchecked. AI can be used to deny the rights of man across the globe. AI can enhance human rights, increase shared property, and create a better future for us if it is utilized optimally. Yes, as human beings, we become more reliant on machines to make process more efficient and inform the decision. Therefore, so there's that like the potential for a conflict to arise between human beings and artificial intelligence has emerged, because there's no how, since we are more reliant on them, since we believe they could do most of these things, their tendency, yes, and their potentials that conflicts may arise. So if they are left unchecked, the artificial can create inequalities and can be used to actively deny human rights across the globes. However, if used optimally, AI can enhance human rights, increase shared prosperity, and create a better future for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, Elizabeth Oloye. Quickly, I'll be sharing the screen of our mentors for today. I think I skipped that earlier. Please stop sharing your screen, Elizabeth. Can you hear me? Elizabeth, can you hear me, please? So our first mentor for today is Mr. Gabriel Udo. So I'll be reading his profile quickly. Mr. Gabriel Udo is a research fellow and doctoral candidate at the Faculty of Law, Europa Universitatea Valdrina, Frankfurt, Oder, Germany. I recently won the DAA funded position under the VIP Fellowship Program for the research project Intelligent Weaponry Law and Ethics. His research specialties are centered mostly on artificial intelligence, law weapons technology, smart city technology, and international humanitarian law. Robotic autonomous currently, Gabriel is a Beyond Fellow in the Ethics Group of the Observation International AI Future Lab on Artificial Intelligence for Earth, Technis Universitatea Munich. He holds a master's degree in international law, several and machine language, Python certificate in artificial intelligence, programming for data analysis, UAVs and small robotics, has several publications in both local and international journals. Gabriel having presented papers in India, Sweden, Australia, and other. In these research areas, as Lesio, Gabriel plays the piano, chess, develops program with Python, and listens to music. That's Gabriel's profile. And the second mentor for today is Jato Fana Joseph. Jato Fana Joseph is a freelance data analyst with years of experience working across diverse data analytic projects and blending data science communication in Africa. So we're moving on to the comments and recommendations and contributions from our mentors. So the first mentor today will be Mr. Gabriel Udo, sorry.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let me quickly just say I'm very happy to see a data analyst here. Maybe I'll get some extra explanation on some things because originally I'm a lawyer. I always like being here because every time I come here, I either learn something from the presentation or from another mentor or from both. And when I got the presentations.
Oh, great! That's really nice. That's really nice.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, nice
Yeah,
man. Nice one.
So when I got the presentation some days back, something struck me, and I'll share my own opinion, and I'd probably hear from a data analyst and see what I could get from that. But first, let me quickly just appreciate especially the two presenters, Solomon Ate and Elizabeth. I noticed they were even presenting from their phones. If I'm not wrong with that, I think this shows a very high level of dedication to a cause. I mean, even where the resources are scarce, people still try to contribute. So I'm really happy to have seen that. And I'll try to keep this just around a few of the things I observed in the first presentation and the second one. And the first one is something that has made me, I had to request for permission to share my screen very quickly. I really hope, I hope I can. Can you see my screen, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. while that is playing, the first presentation made mention of, try to merge algorithm bias with data bias. And most researchers, most scientists come with this opinion, but most times I differ from it. I couldn't really get the difference until when I got this presentation and I said, wait, I have thought about this before. Because when you put them together, you may not notice the difference until when you try to solve the bias, you realize that both of them come at different areas. What you're seeing on your screen is just a brief illustration, a program I designed with Python. This was Google Colab. And what I'm trying to illustrate here is an example of a bias that comes with the algorithm. The algorithm is more like the structure of the program, for instance, the software itself. It's an inbuilt instruction. It's there. Now, that's what you're going to see here. If you look at line 6 says, as long as the gender of the person is male and the nationality of the person is Nigerian, then the person gets hired. And along the line, you'll see, I hope it plays to the end, you see how this plays out. So this, to me, is the bias that comes with the algorithm. So no matter what data you try to fit this system with, as long as it doesn't fit into these two, then the person doesn't get hired. This is a structure for an ATS, it's supposed to be used to hire people. Now, this is the program being run. The gender is male, nationality is Nigerian. You move to the next stage. It just shows you that the structure of the system is built to accept people that are males and Nigerian. So now in this case, this person is female, even if it's Nigerian, no. So it doesn't matter what data you feed to this particular structure is built to take only Nigerians that are males. Okay, this is my own perception of what an algorithmic bias is. Data bias would be a little different from my own perception. Data bias would now come when there's the concept of machine learning. I'm sure the data analyst is going to tell us a little more about this. What are you using to teach the machine or the software, for instance? Because to teach a system, you have to introduce it to data. What kind of data are you introducing into the system? What is it learning from? It's like a child. You teach a child that every human being is a good person, and then you feed the child with pictures of only white people, for instance. The day that child sees a black person, maybe the child is now 10 years old and has never seen a black person. The first day he sees a black person, he has been fed with information only of white people. When he sees a black person, it's going to be a problem, no matter how good or bad the child is. People argue that this still goes back to the algorithm, but I personally think that the system may be good, but the data to which with which it's been fed can come with problems. So this is a personal opinion. It's something I got from personal research, and again, I'm sure Joseph is going to have something to say about that.
Okay. Am I just like or now or later?
Probably later. I'm almost done with this. Yeah.
Great.
Okay. Then quickly on the second presentation, I'm sure we'll have questions to answer. So if I have a lot more to say, I'll probably say it after. Let me just quickly say one thing about the second presentation. It's just an observation. They mentioned that one of the biggest problems artificial intelligence is going to come with is going to be the issue of data privacy, and this has already become a major problem. You have no idea what information is out there about you. Each day you see accept cookies and you just click. Most Nigerians, we don't read anything. If you're trying to read a website and something just pops up, accept, you just accept as long as it lets you go to the next stage and your data. I used to have that problem, up to a point. And then I realized that we need to sit down and start reading documents now. You open an account on Facebook or Twitter and they say read the terms and conditions. You just scroll to the end and accept without looking at what it said about the data it's collecting about you. So we are going to have lots of issues with privacy and job replacement. Job replacement is already happening a lot. If you get to some parts of Europe, you'd see, if you go to McDonald's, for instance, you'd realize that 70% of the people that are buying from machines. There's nobody standing there asking you what you want. Some have 2 or 3 people standing, then they have like 10, 15 machines, depending on the size of the McDonald's. So what it does is you just go there, enter what information you need, and it just tells you, okay, wait, just go and sit on the table, and feeds the information to the human making the food, and the food gets to your table. So we're going to have lots of unemployment, but I think people have to upscale. We need to find a way around it. Otherwise, we're going to have, especially lawyers, because lawyers don't see this coming. We think it's not possible to program a system to perform such functions, but that's something we will be surprised at what's being cooked up. So let me leave it now. Thank you to all the presenters, and thank you again, Joseph, in anticipation for your contribution to this, because I really, really do look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel Udo, for the contribution and presentation. Mr. Joseph, please, you'll be the next person.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Gabriel. That was really, really nice. I think it's good to see a lawyer write code like in real time. Makes sense. I was really thrilled. Good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon, sorry, everyone. And shout out to the presenters. You did a really great job, you and your team. That was really, really educating. I got to learn a few new stuff from your presentations. And thanks to JIIPCC guys for putting up this. It's really, really educative. And thanks for giving me an opportunity to be here with you guys today. So yeah, for this presentation, I was given a couple of questions which I was supposed to provide answers to, and I've done a few research around it, and I have answers or stuff I felt to be answers to our problems. And so I would present my screen and share with you what I have. But before then, back to what Udo said earlier, let me say his question or his opinion on data bias. It's most times, yeah, bias starts right from the point of data collection. Are you with me? When data is not collected rightly, when data is collected, maybe let's start from choosing your what do you call it, your choosing your sample, where to get your data from. If your sample, if your how do you call it, if you sample your data or do a point of collection, if the people you're collecting your data from, what do you call that in statistics?
The sample population.
Thank you, sample population. Those are population I was going. Yeah. So if your sample population is biased, if you not include everybody, if it's not entirely inclusive of whoever is supposed to use the data, that's the first point where your problem starts from. Do you understand? If okay, I think there was a time Coca-Cola had a big problem when they were supposed to make new flavors, and do you know that story? Yeah, so exactly. So that's the first point of data bias, where you collect data and your sample population is not well selected or it's a bit inclusive. Do you get? So that's the first point of data bias, and from there, any other thing you're doing is useless. When it goes to market, when it goes to production, it's all hazard. It's not hazard. So yeah, so I mean, that's where it starts from. So when you have a bad data, you mentioned that when you have a bad data, whatever you do with your algorithm, no matter how good your algorithm is, it will definitely produce a bad result. Because what you've, as I said, the case of a child growing up and being taught by parents, yeah, I mean, if you teach your child in a very bad manner, he'll definitely come out bad. There's just no way about it unless God intervenes. Of course, God doesn't intervene in algorithms. So of course, you should know very well there. So yeah, it's from the data collection. So that's the first step when it comes to data bias. Who is answering the questions, who is providing the data, and in fact, it goes to the point where you even tend to try to understand their health. Are these people mentally disturbed? You understand? Are the people answering your question, the people providing answers to your problem, are they mentally fit? Is there anything? Is there any say maybe? Is there any condition at that particular point in time that is making them say yes or no to these particular questions? In Nigeria now, if you say you're doing a research on something around security now, I believe you have people in the north answering questions a bit different from the way people in the South or people in a place where there's not much of security challenges, both answers will definitely be in contrast. They won't be the same because those in the North have a first-hand experience of what is happening in security. And of course, you know very well that their answers will be different. So if you are making a research in Nigeria, maybe around security, and you tend to choose your population maybe in the South, or maybe let's say in Lagos, where there's not much of insecurity problems, like say Borno. So if you choose Lagos instead of Borno, you should definitely know that you might have answers, but they won't be as inclusive or as clear as if it were from somebody in Borno or maybe say Adamawa or Zamfara state. So the first point or the first problem or the first issue with data bias starts at the collection stage. When you collect data wrongly, whatever you do going forward will definitely produce a very, very wrong output. So yes, it's garbage in, garbage out, as you know. So you feed it with good data, it provides good results. So I don't know if that is a bit clear or...
It's clear, sir.
Yeah, it's very clear. Thank you.
All right, great. Probably we'll discuss more after this. We'll connect and maybe we'll talk about it and all of that. Thank you. So yeah, how do I share my screen? Let me do that. Let's see if we can start. Okay. Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yes. Can see your screen.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. All right. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, great. All right, great. So yeah, well, my name is Jato Joseph. I've already told you that. I am a data analyst. Mostly I do freelancing, and in the past I've led communities, data science communities for Data Science Nigeria, which is now Data Scientist Network. I've brought data science to campuses like Bayero University in Kano, University of Veritas University, Abuja, Benin State University, and other campuses where I used to go teach about artificial intelligence and preach about it. Yeah, I was like evangelist. I kind of introduced the, data science to so many campuses, and I'm still doing that. I love to contribute, to teach, and share my knowledge with people. And yeah, I used to do a bit of writing, but got a little bit busy these days. But I think this presentation actually motivates me to write something about data bias. Maybe after this presentation, I'll publish something on LinkedIn. And so yeah, that's pretty much about me. And okay, I also love music like Udo. I used to play the piano a little, just key C and key F, flat. And yeah, that's pretty much everything about me. So yeah, let's go to the first question and see what I have. So yeah, the first question was that considering that AI mimics stereotypes and biases held by human developers, are there any laws, policies, and regulations in Africa or other jurisdictions outside Africa that prescribe for diversity in AI development teams in order to counter these biases through representation? And the answer is yes. There are a few, or there are policymakers or governing bodies that are out there to regulate how AI systems operate and how the data of users of AI systems is being used and all of that. So on African level, there is a Pan-African approach to. Oh, sorry, there was an AI conference in Egypt sometimes in 2019, which with the aim of coming up with a solution, a way around how AI systems will be used in Africa. And at the end of that conference, there was a strategy. There was a kind of an agreed policies on how AI will be used in Africa and how user data is utilized by these AI systems. So at the end of it, they came up with a PDF that had a lot of let me not say PDF. They came up with policies that guide how AI systems are used or should be deployed or user data should be managed in Africa. That was put together by AU, African Union, and yeah. So maybe if you want to look at that, I have the link here in PDF. I'm guessing after this program, they will send the PDFs to you guys, so you can actually go there, look at what Africa considers to be private or public data. You can see a lot of regulations. It's like a 30-page PDF. You see a lot of information on how you as a developer or you as a product owner can use can make use of limitations that you have on African users and all of that. And I believe this was well put together, considering our society, our religions, and all the diversities in Africa. I thought all of this was put together, and with that in mind. So yeah, if you intend on building any products that serve African populace, you should actually have to. You would have to follow some of the policies that are written down here. Though I'm not sure if there's anybody that is making sure to see that all these are actually being implemented in the system. I'm not sure. I don't know if there's anything like that. But of course, it's supposed to be an agency or something of that kind that actually emphasizes that all of these policies are being followed by all of the AI enabled systems that are being used in Africa or deployed in the market for Africans. So yeah, and then that's for Africa. And yeah, going forward, many nations now also came up with their own, on the country level, regulations that actually policies that regulate how user data are being used, or how AI, or limitations that AI systems can actually, or limitations around AI systems that are being used in their countries. Nigeria should have something like that. I don't think everybody here is from Nigeria. Some names are a bit not familiar. So I think, yeah, on country basis, like I think Kenya was the first, were the first guys to do something around that. They deployed AI system. I think they were the first African country to actually accept AI and kind of started doing a few stuff around AI. They have a body governing that, and I believe they have regulations on how to use their countries, how to make use of users' data and all of that. And I believe Nigeria too has a regulation on that. And yeah, that's for African to the countries, to African countries. That's on the continent level. Then now, to international bodies, of course, there are a few international bodies that regulate how data is being used generally around the world. And UNESCO have, in 2020, UNESCO had a draft of recommendation on the ethics of artificial intelligence, and this includes sorry, I keep using the word PDF. It's a long list of policies that shows how that regulates the way user data is being used around the world. If you're building an AI system, you should take note that, okay, you collect my data, my name, my address, my pictures, my all of this. To whom should you show this data to? In fact, are you even supposed to show it to a third party? No. Are you supposed to maybe, in case I commit a crime, and can you make it available, or should you make it available to maybe to security agencies to be able to track this user? Because, okay, maybe because you're on Google, because you sign up on maybe say on Facebook, can Facebook actually share your data to security agencies maybe in times where you commit a crime, or like all of those limitations? So on international level, yes, these are the bodies that actually have put in place policies that guide how data is being used, and to which extent you as a product owner, or maybe as an AI enabled product owner, to which extent you can actually make use of user data, and of course, if you're allowed to even share it to a third party or not. So yeah, that's on the international level. And then EU particularly, I don't know, most of us have heard of the GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation. Yeah, that's for the EU, for the European Union. They've got a set of guidelines that actually set aside how data is used within European countries. And yeah, so that works. So if you are building maybe a product that's maybe supposed to be used internationally, you want to actually look at all of this. What are your limitations internationally? If your product is being used in Europe? I believe there is a bit of differences in all of okay, there's bits of differences in how in maybe in on the country level. I believe there's a bit of differences on the continent, on maybe, so you want to actually take all of this into consideration. So yes,
Mr. Joseph, are you still with us? Okay, I think he's having network issues. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think his video is a bit frozen or something.
Okay. So before he comes back, it's picture time. So I advise everybody to put up their video. I think that's for the mentees. You can put up your video and take a screenshot. Take a screenshot of all everybody in the meeting, and you post on LinkedIn after the program and write what you learned about the session. Bonolo, Meleve, Shita, Airat, Chito, Mba, Cherry, oh yeah, please put up your video. Elizabeth, Oluyede, put up your video and take screenshots. Thank you very much, Chito, Mba. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not sure. I'm not sure when he's back, but when he gets back, if you could probably just excuse him to leave, so that when I'm also responding to the questions that I got, I could use his own screen. I don't need to share my screen anymore. I could just talk on the things that he has on the screen.
Okay. So after the pictures, the screenshots is the question and answer. So I'll just be asking you the questions. I'm coming out. I'll be posting the question on the chat box for everybody to see. The first question, I think he's already answering the first question, right? So you'll be taking the second question.
Yeah, it's okay. I could just make a few additions to the first question, and then I go. I have the questions already, so just one.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, okay. I really wish I'm not sure he knows that his video is frozen. So if somebody could write him, or you know, drop him a message on the back channel, so could come back, because he has some very interesting presentation also, and I probably wanted to ask him a few things about this. But then very quickly, the first question was whether I had it opened here, yeah, whether you know, talked about the presence of laws in Africa and other places to fix the issues with stereotypes and biases that come with artificial intelligence. And just like Joseph has mentioned, yes, there are laws. Basically, the problem is, these laws do not look to be, most of them actually do not look like they are specifically directed to automated systems and you know, systems that are being driven by artificial intelligence. For instance, if you look at Nigeria, there are too many anti-discrimination laws around the world. Almost every country has an anti-discrimination law. The Nigerian constitution has it, I think that should be section 42, and many others. There's law that deals with data privacy, the NDPR, and all that. Yeah, so the laws are there, but the problem is, or the perceived issue is, that they are not specifically attendants to the problems that come with artificial intelligence. They are just general bias laws. Now, an example of the law that strictly goes straight to biases that deal with that could come with the use of artificial intelligence is the ECHR. I think the European Convention on Human Rights, Article 14, is more specific than the African Convention on Human and People's Rights. I mean, the SEHPR is just like the UDHR. They come with general discussions about discrimination and non-discrimination and biases and all that. But the ECHR is really, you know, goes as far as differentiating between direct discrimination and indirect discrimination. So direct discrimination would be like what we know, you know, the usual, hey, we don't like this guy, we need this guy. indirect discrimination contains other forms of discrimination that you can't directly trace the source, or just imagine every other sort of discrimination that is not involved, that doesn't look direct. Now, this is what the ECHR has attempted to fix. Any form of discrimination that comes and you cannot trace responsibility to somebody, because the anti-discrimination laws, what most of them do is to create responsibility. There has to be somebody to hold responsible. And what artificial intelligence seems to do, the depth of artificial intelligence or automated systems these days, is that it goes as far as taking away the human element. Joseph is back here. I'm glad you're here. Maybe when I just finished the first question, and then I will let you go ahead with your second question. Sorry, I knew you.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, I was just talking about I was actually using your first slide to answer the first question also, and I mentioned the fact that yes, we have laws. You mentioned the GDPR, of course, the European GDPR, but Europe has understood that the GDPR is too general. It's not enough to fix discriminative tendencies that come with automated systems. So now they're even proposing the Artificial Intelligence Act. And then I also mentioned the European Convention on Human Rights that goes as far, I think that should be Article 17, goes as far as discussing direct discrimination and indirect discrimination. So direct discrimination is, like I've mentioned earlier, the one that we know. But indirect discrimination is all those other forms that are being imputed in machines. During one of our sessions some weeks ago, I mentioned that there's the argument that most large corporations especially try to automate their systems so that they could relinquish responsibility for some of these discriminative tendencies. If there's somebody sitting down and hiring people and he's saying black people line up this way, white people line up this way, women line there, it's easier to hold, hey, this man, you're doing something wrong. But once they drop a system there and they say, drop your CV inside, it blurs the lines of responsibility. And most companies, so many large corporations are using these systems because they want to blur that line of responsibility. So even when you find discrimination, there could be excuses. Oh, our system was faulty. Oh, we don't know who did this. Oh, it's not us. The system is automated. So this is one of the basic problems of automating systems and artificial intelligence. And we are seeing it everywhere. So if we have general discrimination laws like we have now, the Constitution, the GDPR, the NDPR, that just says no discrimination on grounds of, and it doesn't talk about how to find responsibility, which is what automated systems are going to do, then we are still going to have those problems. So some areas are going as far as creating lines of responsibility. These discussions are going on in major parts of the world. Who do we hold responsible when discrimination actually happens? Under the ECHR, like I've mentioned, Europe is also trying to create an Artificial Intelligence Act. They're also having discussions about discrimination in smart city technologies, all sorts of trying to ensure that it's not just general discrimination. We have to trace this because the definition of discrimination is changing. It's not just a human being selecting CVs. It's you dropping your CV in a system and the system saying, I don't like you because you are a woman. So there are so many laws, but the laws are not, the long run is not going to be that effective because especially lawyers will always find a way around this laws. So the problem now would be, do we have laws that specifically deal with artificial intelligence encouraging discriminations? And this is another side of the question. So I think I should let Joseph go ahead with this question 2 and 3 now. Then I can just quickly conclude that later, if that's okay.
Okay, sir. Mr. Joseph, please, you can continue. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Joseph.
All right, thanks. Yes, first of all, I apologize for that little glitch. NEPA just took light here in Nigeria, you know how it happens. Yeah, so I had to switch my other screen to the other, and yeah, that happened. Sorry. So I was asking if question 1 was clear, if you were clear, if there were questions, and about, I think Gabriel has done a lot of work to that already. So yeah, thank you. So yeah, I'll present my screen and we'll move to second questions. Let's see what I have for you guys. All right. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes,
Hello?
we can see.
You can see it
All
now.
right. All right, great. So yeah, question 2 was, would AI be considered autonomous to the extent of being held liable for breach of constitutional provisions or non-discrimination on gender, race, lines, and what remedies does an aggrieved person have against the AI technology and developers or creators of a discriminatory AI? So yeah, we're talking about AI being held responsible, or AI being considered autonomous to the extent of being held reliable. This is like a two-part question. So the first part, which is, would AI be considered autonomous to the extent of being held liable for breach of constitutional provisions? Yeah, I would say yes. But hello, there's a background noise.
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, great. All right. So yeah, I would answer on the first part of holding of a AI system being held reliable for breaching constitutional provisions. Of course, I would say yes. AI systems are designed by people, yeah, and of course, when they go out of their ways, it means there is a fault in the design process. So of course, AI systems are or should be held responsible whenever they go out of context, or whenever they go out of their way, maybe whenever they harm users of that particular system. I'm looking for best way to actually align this. Okay, yeah. So I won't say the technology. This is more like a lawyer kind of question, Gabriel. It has to do with, okay, just trying to use technical to relate everything. Okay, let me give, okay, I have to pull up the case study of a self-driving car. Say, of course, autonomous AI systems have been built around, have been built and deployed and already in use. But the technology is not, the fault is not really with the technology. The technology is good. And of course, I set aside it's good processes that, if followed correctly, a good and healthy system will be produced. So if you are affected by any of these technologies, maybe by any of these or by any products, it's not the technology you blame. Let's blame the the product owner, because most times for technologies to be accepted, they've gone under a lot of regulatory confirmations. Like, they've gone through most times. In fact, there are a lot of human rights activists, a lot of what do you say, legal people, right from the onset, who actually make sure that everything is being taken into consideration. You understand? So for the technology itself, there is lots of research and lots of backing. I mean, lots of research is done to make sure that it doesn't have adverse effects to human beings. But then most times the problem comes with who is using the technology to build solutions. Sometimes people tend to be a bit careless with how they use this technology. Do you understand? Computer is there. We know so many of us use computer in a very positive way, but of course, you also know that a lot of people use computer to harm other people and cause a lot of problems. You understand? So the problem is not with the technology; it's with the people using the technology to build solutions. So if, say, a self-driving car, God forbid, but say you're knocked down by a self-driving car, who should you hold responsible? Are you going to, in fact, who owns AI? In fact, you can't actually sue who owns AI, but you're going to sue who, if you're ever going to sue someone, then it should be the product owner who built this, is it Volvo's self-driving car that knocked you down? Okay, but of course, you won't go to Volvo. Who owns this particular one? Is it that Mr. A bought this self-driving car and sent to the market to do one or two things? So you hold Mr. A, you hold him responsible. He goes back and maybe he sues Volvo for not building a good model. a good model that identifies maybe identifies that people are crossing or all of that. You understand? So yeah, did I answer this rightly? Like, am I making sense, Gabriel?
Yes.
Yeah, you are. I would probably, when you're done, I'll just maybe re-explain that and add a couple of examples.
All right, then, great. All right, great. So yeah, so coming from the legal part of stuff, I am not sure to which extent can maybe what do I say? Can a grieved person actually go? I don't know to which extent can a grieved person actually go to maybe to ask for to charge or I believe it should be based on the damage done to you. So maybe if maybe you're knocked down by one of these driving cars and maybe the damage being done is severe, of course you would actually, your lawyer or whoever is representing you would actually do the risk assessment, they do the assessment and know the right amount of compensation that should be done to whoever, to the, what do you say, to the affected person. You understand? So in general, or in summary, I would say, yeah, AI systems, whenever they go out of the way, they should be held responsible. In fact, there was a case in the UK recently where an algorithm for giving admission to school was really biased, and it like, okay, it was supposed to give admission based on previous, like your admission to high school based on your a few variables from your past education, and the bias in that algorithm was that it only gave admission to students that were coming from standard schools. Those that came from public schools that were a bit less standard were denied admission. So I think the company that built that software was held responsible, and those kids that were denied admission, I think they had to call back and consider and stuff like that. So yes, that was a case where an algorithm or an AI system was being held responsible for misfunctioning, let me say, for malfunctioning. You understand? So yeah, it's very possible to actually lay charges when you feel your data or you are being abused by any of these AI systems. Not the technology, not technology in particular, but you can actually sue the product owner. You understand? Facebook has been dragged several times for misusing people's data. I don't know how true, but they've been accused severally for not using people's data rightly. And as Udo was saying about these recruiting systems that actually kind of discriminate people, of course, those systems, if they were well built, they would actually take a lot of everything into consideration and not discriminate. But I believe the companies that are using the systems actually, before adapting the system, actually have gone through the system, knows the functionality, and probably out of carelessness, or they don't really care, or it's actually what they want, they kind of just don't kind of care about the discrimination. Of course, maybe it's actually goes in line with what they want. So in case where you're being affected by this and you have proof, you know very well that yes, the system denied you, maybe you were fit for the job, you got every required skills set and everything, but you are being denied such a job. Of course, you can actually take it up and have your legal person look into it and maybe recruiting firm. So yes, I think that's what I have on that. Gabriel would want to add something maybe in the legal perspective of how things are done around that. So yeah.
Would you want me to add now, or I could wait for you to finish?
No, sure. No, can I clarify on that before I move to the third question?
Okay. Very quickly. You've said most of what I would have said, but I have, I would just add a few things to that. First, we have to consider, the question was whether, I hope I'm still heard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the question was, who the issue of responsibility, like I mentioned, and then it's whether it's the technology or those who create it, or, that's the instance there, the first thing we should note is it's more of a philosophy-related question than science, and that's why it gets really complicated when scientists try to answer it. If you consider the ideology behind responsibility, it's not even a law issue first. It comes into law much later, but first you need to define what you would call responsibility. Who has the intention to cause harm? I still use the example of the self-driving car. Who designed the car? You talked about the product owner, but who gets the responsibility would be dependent on the nature of the harm and what it has done. But then it's always going to fall within two groups of people, the product owner and the developer. It's always going to lie between those two. There's no way you hold a machine responsible. How are you going to punish it? It's not going to pay. It doesn't have money to pay for anything. We've not reached the level of they call it general AI, where the machine can think for itself. We've gotten close, but we've not gotten there. So the machine has no emotions, most of those things are not there yet, because these are the things you used to consider in defining liability for particular torts or crimes. Now, first, you look at the nature of the damage that is done. Lawyers use a lot of cases. I remember there's Fleming and Atkinson for strict liability. If you have a dog and your dog bites somebody, or if you have a cattle and your cow gets into someone's farm and destroys things, you won't hold the animal responsible. You are the owner. You will not hold the person that sold you the dog, which would be the developer in this instance. It's going to be you, the product owner, because at this point it's you. But then you look at the nature of fault. You would hear Toyota withdrawing maybe 200,000 cars because there's a brake failure in the system. Now, this accident is traced beyond the product owner. It goes straight to who developed the system. Okay? The product owner probably trained the system about certain things. Maybe he gets to know my voice. If you use a self-driving car, you introduce yourself to the car, it gets your voice, your image, your thumbprint, and all that. Any accident related to a wrongful use of imagery is about something you as a product owner taught the machine, so you're responsible for that. But if the machine, the algorithm for building the system itself was faulty, now that takes us back to the first issue I discussed. You have the data to fit the system to an extent. Any accident that comes from the data, from what you taught the system, it's on you. But when you look at the fact that maybe there's a general brake failure on the system, you trace it back to who designed the original system. So these two groups of people, but we've not gotten to general AI. AI has specific AI and general AI. We've not reached that level of autonomy. Now we still have autonomous systems, automatic systems, but we do not have full autonomy. A system that can switch itself on, carry out activities and switch itself off. But for specific purposes, there are systems that can carry out certain purposes. We have the robo, what do they call it? This stuff that cleans. You just switch it on and you leave. If you go, you see so many people using it to cut grasses here. They switch it on, leave it outside, and they go inside and do other things. And it's busy cutting the grass outside. Nobody's holding it. It just stresses the grass around the fence and cuts everything. So in that case, if it has an accident, the product owner, there's nothing he did. He just puts it on and puts it off. That's all the developer told him to do. So if there's a problem in the process of cutting the grass, it gets outside the area where it was programmed to, or where the product owner defined it, then you're going to find who programmed the system to get outside it. So basically, we are not going to hold the AI responsible. AI technology has not reached a level where we can hold it responsible for this thing. So depending on the nature of the fault, it's certainly going to be between the developer who designed the system, most times, of course, and then the product owner. What is the nature of the accident? What did it do? What data was it fed with? If you reconfigure a system as a product owner, if you buy a mobile phone, you use it to take people's pictures and you post it. You cannot hold Apple, for instance, because they built a phone, put a camera. They didn't tell you what to do with the phone. But the phone has a camera. You can use it to video yourself. It is a multifunctional phone. So you can't hold Apple. But if the system, even when you switch off your location data, it's been programmed to carry your location data and to share it on social media. Once it does that, you can hold Apple because you have done your bit of switching off the location, like they said. So again, it depends on the nature of what the system does. That's what I think. Your camera is switched off.
Please unmute yourself.
Your mic.
Unmute yourself.
Okay. All right, sorry, I was muted. I didn't observe that. All right, cool. So yeah, to add to that, recently I heard people say much autonomous AI systems work better when they're used with human beings, when they're kind of this kind of a synergy between the human beings and the system work together. It actually produces better results. You understand? So where the systems should not be left entirely to work on their own, but they should be joined with human intelligence. Like human beings should actually work hand in hand. So I believe if, like, for self-driving car, if a human being was supposed to sit there and say, okay, in case the brake fails, let me match, someone should match the physical brake. I think it would actually work better. So well, that's just still just people those kind of saying it. Probably, I don't know, they could actually improve the systems to be smarter, or for now, human beings will still have to work in hand with some of these systems, these autonomous systems. They're not completely entirely autonomous. Just to mention, way back when I was in school, my lecturer, one of our lecturers was teaching us was the software engineering. He made mention of AI systems not coming to replace human capabilities entirely, but to augment how we do things, and just so as to maybe to save time, energy, and all of that. So that too has been a very controversial discussion, where the leaders in AI are trying to say AI is just there to augment how we do things, but not to replace human beings entirely. But the truth of the matter is it's replacing human beings. That's just it. You go to a company and there is a total, there's like a 50% cut off from employees, because we have systems that carry out these things and saves cost and all. I mean, sometimes it even gives better results. So that's just by the way. I just decided to mention that. All right, so cool. The third question was supposed to be on how Africa is what Africa is doing to make available enough data so as to address issues like AI bias and lots more problems around data unavailability. So yes, before I moved to what Africa is doing, I said to those kind of list a few problems, challenges that we already have on ground due to or challenges that are actually affecting availability of data in Africa, and not just availability of quality data. Let's emphasize, because we could have data, but it's actually not qualitative or it's useless, and it doesn't help when building solutions. So let's say how to availability of quality data. So yeah, for those of us from Nigeria, you understand that the first point where I say about political, where it has to be around political reasons, you understand that like a country like Nigeria, the politicians get to make decisions that hinder anything that breaks like a big breakthrough that would actually bring what do you call it, transparency in the way governance is being done in Nigeria. Most African countries, like when it comes to, okay, let me give an example of say elections are by the corner, and you all know, we all know that there are better ways in which this our electoral processes can be done. Ways maybe you could make real-time visualization of how votes come in and what's like output and everything. We all know that stuff like these are very, 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 very possible. You could just have a system that visualizes voter counts like in real time, and at the end of the day, it accumulates and shows us the winner and all of that. But stuff like this won't, or for now, are not allowed to stay in the country because of how things are done in Nigeria by our politicians, our leaders, and all of that. So they kind of get to hide or limit what data goes out. You understand? They kind of tend to limit which data is made public and which is not made public. So that's one challenge we have in Africa generally. Most African countries, of course, have issues of corrupt cases and all of that. So secondly, it gets to, in fact, in cases where they even allow the data, the second problem comes with who is collecting the data, or the system that are collecting the data. Are these systems built well? Are they well built to make sure data is not being corrupted, and the way data is being collected properly, and the right data is being collected for the right purpose? You understand? Say, okay, in terms of, say, maybe during census that happens once in is it 5 or 10 years? I don't know. When the time comes for data collection, you could see in like Nigerian setting where you see people who are not even qualified because maybe because they have a hand, they have someone in government who just put their names, please. Like maybe secondary people that maybe with no even knowledge of how things, or like people that can't even like operate some of the system properly, or cannot even use, but we still use paper to collect data. Last census was still done on paper. You could have people who are not enlightened enough get into the line of data collectors just because they have people in government. So the whole problem is around how our decision makers, you understand, when our decision makers are not are people who are not after transparency, it affects a whole lot, because data is really powerful. You would be surprised to which extent data can be used to fix a country's problem. You understand that if the right data is made available. So these two challenges all kind of relates go back to how our leaders operate. The our politicians, which policies they allow out there, and what's the motivation behind the policies surrounding how data is being used. So these are just a few challenges. There are a whole lot of challenges, but I said, so before I go to the solutions, I decided to just mention this just to clarify this thing. So the question was was on how to find the solution around providing enough data to bypass AI bias. So I had a few solutions that I got, which are this. So this is not entirely every solution, but part of this three. Hello, I didn't get that, Solomon. Hello.
I hear you.
All right, great, cool. Can you hear me?
Yes. I thought you were sharing a
screen. All right, great. So now, all right, great. So yeah. Okay. Can you see now?
No, you can't see it yet.
I can see your screen if that's what you're sharing, but it's still on the second question. Looks like it's frozen out again.
I think his network is fluctuating again.
Yeah, okay.
Just jump in.
Okay, I'll just, you can hear me, right? I'll just quickly
yes.
We're on the third question, and I think there's a fourth one here, but I'll try to be as brief as possible. This is asking how Africa can ensure it provides enough data to bypass AI bias. Yeah, we've all agreed there's a lot of biases against Africans, even within Africa itself. But it's going to be quite difficult to provide data for and compel people to use. We have the issue with the lack of political will to provide, to make data accessible, data democracy. We have all those problems. But you cannot force people to use your data if they don't want to use it. You can have that data and people refuse to use it. If I build a system and I want it to take care of only men, you can't force me to use women, especially in a capitalist system, which is what we have in Nigeria. So this is the actual complication. The main problem is not in we having the data, it's about how do we get people to use the data in systems. We have enough data. We have a lot of research. We have lots of pieces of data lying here and there, but who's going to use it? When they were making vaccines for the coronavirus, I mean, the European countries were trying to protect themselves. So the first thing they did was they collected people from their countries and they used it to produce whatever vaccine it was. But then when they wanted to test it, they pushed most of it to Africa. So you can't blame them for deciding to protect their people or to build systems that are more suitable to their communities. You can't force anyone. This is a capitalist democracy. You can't. But to an extent, you can build your own system and use your own data and decide to use your own system. If the Germans build cars according to the nature of German roads, they can choose to use it in Germany. But when you decide to come to Germany and buy a car, if you tell them to make it to fit Nigerian roads, then you have to pay extra. It's the same thing with data. So if they decide to build things that work with their systems, if you want things that work with your systems, you're either going to pay more for it, or you start building your own systems, which is a solution I find more interesting. If we build our own systems, if we start doing our own scientific research, for instance, we build our own robots, we build our own artificial intelligence systems generally, we feed them with African data, and we use this data to train the systems. You don't need to buy a car from Germany if we have Nigerians that are building cars, because before you drive from Lagos to Ibadan, if you're using a BMW, that not X7, something that is very low, is going to lose its bumper between, after 1 hour trying to get out of Ibadan, it will lose its bumper because of all the bumps. And then the traffic, you consider whether to use AC, because you are building it considering the Nigerian system, because you're a Nigerian, so you consider that. But if you buy a car like that, when you come to Germany and tell them, I want a car, they build you a car that they use in their systems, and you tell them, no, it's too low, you have to lift, add a little bumper, my roads are crazy, and they say, well, you have to pay extra 1,000 euros for that. You pay. So you can have all the data you want. They are not building the system for you. We go and beg for systems. Hey, please, can we use the mobile phones you built? And they, yeah, take it. And you take it, you realize that it's not going to work with your system. We buy trains, we buy cars, we buy everything. We need to start. So the solution, just to be brief about this, the solution is not about making data available. It's about building our own systems and having this independence, technologically independent from the global north. So this is the solution, I think. We can have all the data, we can pile up data, nobody comes. It's like having chicken and egg. If somebody is not buying your egg, you just, when you finish walking around, or people that used to sell akara, you walk around with your akara, it will get cold. You come back and you leave it and just cover it. Tomorrow morning, that one is wasted. You make another one. That's what's happening to African data now. So, but if you have people that only eat your own akara, then you can produce and go and give them because they are your people. So until we start producing our systems, we are still going to keep having, the problem with data bias, people using their own data to judge systems or to provide systems of Africa. And I think that was the last question, right?
I think
yeah.
Thank you very much,
Yeah.
Mr. Gabriel. There is a fourth question, I think, but I don't know if third one already answers it.
I'm trying to look at the fourth one now.
So the fourth question is saying, how can Africa ensure that it provides enough data to bypass AI bias? I don't know if
that's the one I just answered. It means I missed one question. I answered number one.
So let me.
I missed number
question. What remedies does an aggrieved person have against the AI technology and the developers/creators of a discriminatory AI? That is like the
that's the third one. And that's like I mentioned earlier when I was trying to answer the previous question. We are still using, for now, especially in Africa, we are still using the general anti-discrimination law. So I think in cases of thought, of course, I'm not going to go into that, but the same remedies that are applicable to thought and issues on non-discrimination will be used for now, at least, as long as we do not have specific laws that say, but we also have provisions under the under data privacy protection laws, like the NDPR. If you misuse data, this is the punishment, or this is what the aggrieved person can get from you. So for now, we don't have anything specific artificial intelligence, especially in Africa. I'm really specific about Africa because I know Europe is doing a lot of things every day. In Germany, where I am, for instance, there's a lot of there's this very aggressive attack against discrimination, especially by automated systems. So there are laws that companies, for instance, if you're with a company, either working with a company or you have business with a company, they are obligated to keep your data not more than 90 days after your relationship is over. So after 90 days, if they still keep your data, and you get to find out and you sue, there's an amount of money that are going to pay, and they also pay to the government. There's a lot of money they pay to the government. So data privacy laws in Europe basically are very strict, very stringent. Before they even send you an email, before companies send you an email, even your health insurance, they send you a document to sign permitting them to use your email address. So this is how strict they are. But of course, we know how Nigeria is. I'm not sure how that would work back in Nigeria. We don't really have that structure yet, and we don't have the laws that would provide specific penalties for AI related, except we use the general laws of thought and some provisions of some of the criminal laws. And yeah, so that's what I think.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, for the response. So I think that because of time, we'll be rounding up, but just before we do so, there are a lot of young professionals here who are trying to start a career in AI and all that. So I would like the mentors to just give like a 2-minute advice to the mentees, and then we'll round up for today. So while the advice is going on, please put your videos on and take a snapshot of yourself and the mentors, post it on LinkedIn, post it on Twitter, and write what you learned, tagging them to the post. So with that, I think that would first hear from Mr. Joseph, and then would hear from Mr. Gabriel. 2 minutes, 2-minute advice to the mentees as they start their career in the AI industry.
All right, guys. Sorry, I couldn't finish my slide. I was gonna like show you a few things around the solutions, but Mr. Gabriel kind of like continue from where I stopped. And yeah, let me just chip in a little bit. Let me just use 1 minute for that and 1 minute for my advice. So yeah, Mr. Gabriel really said the problem is not with the availability of data. Of course, data is available, but not enough. So there are times where there are some other industries where there's a limitation of data. You understand? So data may be available for maybe the financial industry. The fintech guys may have a lot of data out there, but there are other critical areas as well, maybe health, that do not have much of their data out there. So Africa still has a problem of insufficient data, or let me say quality data. Data is out there, but most of our data is not even well organized. So if you look at the Bureau of Statistics, if you look at their data, most of them are not standard, or some of them are even incomplete and all of that. So let me just stop there. I just want to just kind of chip in a little on that. So on the advice on where to go from here in AI generally, I would advise you start with joining a community, data AI community. And in Nigeria, if you're in Nigeria, Data Science Nigeria is a very, very, very good place to start from. I would share you guys a link to that on the chat section, their website, where you can actually, and the good thing is they have communities in almost every state. So wherever you are, there's a city lead that can actually that normally like guides activities in that state, and they normally do meetups every, maybe, I don't know, it depends on how they do it. If you are in the university, you probably have an AI community in your campus. They're like almost in every campus. So it's good to start from there, because when you learn with people, you learn with people like minds, it actually helps very well. And also you can actually reach out to me privately if maybe you're not maybe on campus, or you have issues with finding a community in your state. You can just reach out to me. I'll get details of your city lead and maybe share it across to you. So, and also there are good places to learn. If you have small change to spare out, you can actually go to platforms like Data Quest, Data Camp, and start up something. They're really less expensive, and there are also free resources online. I would love to share that, but I didn't just get that in order. But you can actually just hit me up. I think my LinkedIn is there, my Twitter, I'll share it. I think Mrs. Julian will send it across to you guys. You can reach out to me personally, and I will kind of get to talk on where to go. and its motivation. The field of artificial intelligence is really broad. So I really need to advise you guys, when you are going into it, you should actually choose exactly what you want to focus on. You cannot be a jack of all trades, because it gets confusing when you want to know everything and do everything and build every model. You understand? So you have to focus on one particular aspect that interests you, that you're more passionate about, and focus, give your energy to it. You understand? This is not a career session, so let me just stop there. But nice having you guys. I really want to do this again and do it every time with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Have a nice day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jato, for that advice. I think it was really on point. Thank you so much. So we'd like to also hear from Mr. Gabriel.
Okay, I'm going to be very, very brief, very quick. And I'm going to be saying this from personal experience. My only advice to the mentees is, number one, and probably the only advice, please learn other things, just upskill. There's this trick around people saying, no, AI can't take everything. There's a lot of scientists are building things, and I tell you, don't worry, we still have it. We're still cool. But if you look at the trend of things, for those that are lawyers like myself, law has the tendency to draw you and hold you down. Every day you don't go to court and it feels like you've not achieved a lot of things. You do something that is a little bit out of law, you start thinking but in the next couple of years, and I say this with all sorts of certainty, you can read about the EU judge and read about the Chinese AI judge, things like that. You'd see how artificial intelligence is used to take decisions in courtrooms. And China is pushing it even far, as at the late last year or early this year, they've started moving towards insisting that judges will take, they just file in the piece of evidence they have in artificial intelligence systems, and then make their judgments. They have to consult these AI machines. So we are getting to a point where just being a lawyer or just being a particular thing would not be enough. So back to the issue, AI is taking jobs. It's going to take as many jobs as possible. And also, please, protect your privacy. Lots of things are going wrong. I couldn't go into that today, but as much as possible, take these things very serious. Otherwise, in the next couple of years, you may, God forbid, see yourself in a place that you never thought you could get to. And once again, thank you very much, Juliana. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to be here. I don't know why I don't get invited all the time, because like I said, I learn a lot every time I come here. I just hear their platforms. I don't want to get into that, but thank you so much. And you would understand how much I learned from these conversations, from you, from the other mentors, and from your presentations especially. So thank you, and see you some other time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel, for that advice. So please upscale and also ensure that you try to protect your privacy. Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Whenever we call on you, you come. We're so grateful. We know that you're a very busy person, but we are so grateful that you always take the time to come. Then I also want to thank Mr. Jato Joseph. Thank you so much for today. Your excitement, your enthusiasm, and the knowledge that you brought to the table is amazing. And we want to say a very big thank you to you and to our mentees. Amazing work. You guys are too much. Thank you so much for how you cooperate with one another, work on your projects, sending your questions and everything. Thank you so much. I don't know, Prophet is asking a question. The reason why we ask that you send your questions before time is so that we can be fast with the things that we're doing. So we encourage that you always send your questions before time. But I want to think that maybe this question came as a result of the discussion. So the question is that the Toronto Declaration of 2018. So I don't know if it's a question or if it's a comment.
Can you hear me, ma?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me, ma? All right, ma.
Yes,
It's just an addition to question number one when Mr. Joseph sent the slides the other time. So it's just an addition, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay, it's an addition. Okay, I thought it was a question. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Quickly, just note, sorry, just 1 minute. Just note that Toronto Declaration is just, as the name is a declaration. It doesn't do anything. International law sometimes feels like child play, and this is just one of them. It's just a declaration. Okay, we are going to make sure we do this. There's nothing beyond that. So that's why most times I don't even count it as a law, as an AI related law, because you don't need to use it. It's almost not useful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gabriel. The way you even say it is just so amazing. You don't need to think about it. It's not, it's just, the way you talk about it is just an amazing way. So thank you so much, everyone. So I wish everyone an amazing weekend. Please, I'll be sending your questions and your topics for next week. Please continue to cooperate with one another. Write your presentations and everything. And we're going to be meeting again next week, Friday. And we'll not close the session today without saying a very big thank you to Hussein. Thank you, Hussein, for moderating. Thank you for your time. Thank you for helping us to run through the session seamlessly. Thank you very much, Hussein. And so with that, we'll be rounding up for today. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing weekend and take care of yourselves. Love you all. Thank you, Mr. Jato. Thank you, Mr. Gabriel. Thank you, Bonolo, Melovu. Thank you, Prophet Paul. I can see your face. Who else? Yes, I think that Ifedios video was on earlier. Good to
Yes,
see you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Atasha. Good to see your face. It's very good that we get to see each other so that if we see somewhere else, always recognize ourselves. So with that, I'll be saying bye. Thank you. Take care.